You see, a few months ago, Instagramல வந்து I like animal movie சொன்னேன். And a lot of people are like, what is wrong with you? Why would you like animal movie? You know, it's glorifying. Okay, listen. நீங்களா woke ஆகிறதுக்கு முன்னாடி 6 years ago, can we just talk ஆரம்பிச்சேன். I have done like over 50 episodes talking about toxic masculinity in cinemas, objectifying women. I've talked about all of this that right now people are complaining about animal movie. I have talked about all of this, about all those heroes and all those movies. Now, ஒரு படத்துல வந்து ஒரு ஹீரோ வந்து சொல்றார் அந்த ஹீரோயின் கிட்ட, if you love me, you'll spend the entire night with me. Okay, now basically in that movie he's degrading her, he is humiliating her, he's like disrespecting her and her love, he's doing all of these things. Okay, but what I notice is that the outrage is not there. The outrage is not there in all of these mass hero movies. It's not, because the message is the same, but the packaging is different. Now, இதை வந்து 6 வருஷம் நான் புலம்பிக்கிட்டு இருக்கேன். So I don't want to talk about all of this. I'm going to talk to you guys about why I like animals. So guys, can we just talk? When I was young, I used to go into my own world where I created fascinating characters. It's a form of escapism, a coping mechanism, because my mind is not able to understand, process the pain and the trauma. So I create a different world for myself so that I can process it. Another world that makes me make sense of reality. So I used to do this all the time. And one of the characters that I created was someone who's very prominent, a very prominent figure in society. She's very strong, very wealthy. Now, one of her guilty pleasures, because she's like so popular and so prominent in the society, you know, people can't really know about her, you know, night activities. So she likes to do street fighting at night. She will go underground fighting. And one of the things that she like is she likes to get beaten up first. She likes to be completely bloodied first. And she says that it's a form of waking her up before, you know, she'll wait until the last moment before the fight is over, before she lands the killer blow that knocks out her opponent. So this is the kind of characters that I used to write. And 20 years later, it's obviously more evolved, but just as bloody. Now, the character in Animal, Vijay, I resonated with him because it reminds me of my character. Every decision, every opinion, it's not like, oh, it's just not. No, it's not random. Everything is driven by the psychology of the observer. It wasn't the movie that caught my attention. It was the character. Because, you know, last year, in the previous video, I said that I was going through spiritual purging. So 2023 was my spiritual purging year, which means all my suppressed, repressed traumas, wounds were all coming up. It came up, so it was the most, that was the energy that was at the forefront. It became my dominant vibration, and dominant vibrations manifest. So which means it becomes a mirror that will attract situations and people that reflect that wound back to you, reflect that pain back to you. So that is why I was attracted to the character in that movie, because it reflected back the wounds back to me, not just the wounds that's within me, but the wounds that I have, you know, kind of sprinkled upon my characters. So what are some of the wounds? Now, abandonment, lack of parental affection, the persistent rejection. So drive seemed to like overcome this worthlessness feeling that is instilled by his father's indifference. And of course, the pursuit of validation. The pursuit of validation leads him to making irrational and dangerous decisions. And now this is the one that I love the most: the illusion of control. So one of my main character, she used to create a house like a fortress. She keeps building and building and building, and also her parents' house as secure as possible. And she would hire a lot of people to keep the house as secure as possible. Too many bodyguards for one person, and the level, okay. And her justification is it's security. It's just so that we're all safe. But the truth is, she did not feel safe. That was why she was doing it. She was creating an armor that's impenetrable. But this armor, what it did was it isolated her from everyone else, and it made her never reveal her vulnerability. Now, this character in this movie, his need for control and power makes him believe that aggression and dominance is the only way to keep his family safe. In my story, one of the bodyguards asked my main character, hey, you know, I've been around you for many years. I've never seen you for a lover. I've never seen you for a man. Like, and she replies that men do not turn me on. Power does. And when you have spent decades building this persona, you know, you cannot show any form of vulnerability, because you feel like vulnerability is a form of weakness and you cannot show it. And because you're holding so much of pain and wound for so many years, that it creates this persona, this cold, hardened, ruthless persona. And the ironic thing is that the reason why you created this persona in the first place was so that you can keep the people around you safe and because you love the people around you. But actually, what happens is that it drives you away from the people around you. And Adiyo Miri, if someone comes into your space and wants to connect with you, you're like, no, no, no. Because the fear of pain and rejection is so strong. And the thing that I can never be that vulnerable with someone because it will lead you to reject me because of all my pains and things. This is this is something that happens to, I mean, this is such a huge scale, but this is something that I face with on a daily basis. 50% of my students carry this pain in their lives, and I see on a daily basis how this kind of trauma, this kind of pain, this kind of wounds shapes people's decisions and choices on a daily basis. Now, எங்களுக்கு மட்டும் அந்த மாதிரி லெவலுக்கு கன்ஸ் பவர் மணி ரிசோர்ஸஸ்லாம் இருந்துச்சுன்னா of course we will make decisions in that scale as well, but we are all just ordinary people, so we make decisions with the same pain, same trauma, same wounds, but on an ordinary basis. So obviously in 2023 Animal was my favorite movie, but in 2024 அந்த படத்தை நான் ஒரு வாட்டி கூட பார்த்ததில்ல because I went to my spiritual purging last year, so it made sense to me. But this year, I'm not saying that I'm completely healed, but I've integrated it, which means I'm aware of it, I acknowledge it, and it still has the huge potential of triggering me. But it doesn't have a dominance over me. This year, I'm attracted to happy movies. I like family movies. I like movies where people are happy and it's very slow and it's calming. I like that kind of movies because you see how someone's energy completely changes their choices and their decisions. Now, in 2 years' time, I might not even like Animal movie, but I would recognize that character anyway because he was me. When I say that I like this movie, why did people have such a huge reaction? It shouldn't be this hard to talk about things. But one thing na kandipa notice panna is that there's a few people who are very woke with this moral superior grounding, which is like, oh my god, I can't believe that you like that. You are so wrong and you're so disgusting. When it having differing opinions becomes so bad, it just means you're looking at it from two different perspectives. You know, there was this experiment done by with scientists, and he had 5 stones on a table, 3 black stones and 2 red stones. And he asked the adults, how many stones are there on the table? And they all the adults say there are 5 stones. Then he asked children who are younger than 8 years old, and he asked them how many stones are there on the table. And the children said 3 black stones and 2 red stones. Counting ena tappa? No, everybody is correct. The adults are correct, the children are correct. But the way that they are looking at the colors and all of this is based on their lenses, their conditioning. The lens in which you view the world is different. That's your perception. Your anger reflects your pain. Your reaction to this movie, your trigger about this movie, this character and the things that he does in this movie, all of this reflects your inner world. Not every episode, but every episode in Can We Just Talk that I talked about passionately and intensely or repeatedly, repetition, that means that is reflecting my inner wounds. So ending la I like Animal movie அப்படின்னு டப்புன்னு சொல்லிட்டு போயிட்டேன். பட் அதுக்கு முன்னாடி எவ்வளவு கண்டிஷனிங் இருக்குது பாத்தீங்களா? So for someone to say that they love something or they hate something, there are so many reasons for it. And sometimes there isn't even reasons. Sometimes it's just an unexplainable emotional attachment to something that's reflected, that comes from somewhere within them. So presuming to understand someone's likes and dislikes and then criticizing them based on your limited understanding of them is merely an illusion of control.